Hey guys, I'm Michelle from Michelle's Romantic Tangle, and let's talk about estate sales. About a month ago, I saw a video that Kelly from Yard Sale Squad made where she gave all of her best secrets for finding yard sales, and they were great tips for someone who is looking for newer items or toys and clothes for children. And 10, 15 years ago, I would have been totally on the same page with her. I shop totally differently, and I decided I would do a video about how I find the estate sales. And the first thing I've got to say is that I do an occasional estate sale haul. I will do pictures on my blog, and for every one of those, I probably go to maybe a dozen other sales that are boring. And if they're boring to shop at, I figure they're going to be too boring to talk about here, so I don't. I've been going to estate sales for a long time, since back in the days when you had to go out and buy the Saturday morning paper and pull out a map. So the internet has made this so much easier. I start with Craigslist. I look up my local area under sales. I look for estate sales, barn sales, farm sales. There are certain keywords that I stick with, and one thing to be aware of, people lie in their listings. People will put the words estate sale because they think it is going to draw in more shoppers, and sometimes they're not estate sales at all. If someone is moving out of a house that they have been in for 40 years and downsizing, they can call that an estate sale. I have no issues with that. But a lot of times people will throw in estate sale when it's not. So we look for barn sale. With that, you have to be a little careful of, people will do their vintage group sales in a barn, which that's awesome. That's just not the barn sale my husband and I are looking for our afternoon. I look for people who describe an accumulation. Pretty much it's got to be over 40 years accumulation to catch our interest. And again, people fib. I have been to a sale that had 40 years of accumulation, and they had less antiques than my 20-year-old has picked up in her garage sailing days. So the other thing that I look at are the pictures. There have been a very, very few instances when I was looking at a sale and saw the pictures, and one of them, there was a box of cross-stitch kits sitting on a table, and the sale wasn't scheduled to open for another 20 minutes. I got the kids, we got in the car, and there were cross-stitch kits. It was awesome. There was another one last winter where I was looking at the pictures, and the walls were literally covered with Dimensions Gold Collection finished cross-stitch kits, the kind that I most in this world love to do. Those are probably the only two instances when the pictures have been a flashing neon, you need to get to the sale sign. More often from the pictures, I am seeing whether they have old stuff. Sometimes I can see sewing supplies or sewing machines or craft supplies. A lot of times it is just the age of the house and the furnishings, and there are certain things, if they've got butter churns or old crockery or Pyrex, I take that as a hint that maybe I want to go look at their other stuff. I do tend to look for sewing machines, fabric, things that indicate that a woman was living in the house and that her accumulation of years of treasures might still be there. We live out in a rural area, so most estate sales are a bit of a drive. Now and then they're close. There was actually a farm auction a couple years back that was half a mile down the highway. We walked to that one. Most of the time they're a drive, and because the pictures can be misleading, the listing can be misleading, I will drive 50 miles for a promising looking estate sale. But my end goal is not the estate sale. My end goal is going out for a nice drive with my husband, maybe having lunch, and the sale is part of the afternoon. That way, if the sale is a dud, then we haven't lost anything. Sometimes We have gone out to sales that do not even exist. I don't know if they change their minds or what the deal is there. The other thing that, especially right now, parking may be impossible. I have been to some sales where, because I drive, until recently drove a little Honda Odyssey minivan, my van won't go into some of those fields they want people to park in. I have got stuck over the years twice, and I never want to do that again. Both times I was able to make it out, but stressful, scary, didn't want to do that. We have been to several sales in the past year where my husband's pickup had trouble parking in loose gravel. So if the parking doesn't look like something I can do, I will go away. If the sale is too crowded at this point in time, I'm not going to bother with it. I went to a sale back in January that I don't know how many people were in that house, but it was way too many people for comfort. And that was before we even were in a pandemic. So I'm taking each sale as it comes at this point and deciding whether I want to go in or not. So I'm approaching things more conservatively than I would have in the past. Sometimes the neighborhood will give you an idea of whether or not a sale is promising. We tend not to go to estate sales in places where the houses are all brand spanking new. I have found very old stuff in very new houses. I have found old houses that had mostly new stuff, so that's not a hard and fast rule. You can't predict what you're going to find. And the other thing that I would advise, I tend to go later in the weekend. I will go on Saturday or Sunday when things have been marked down, when there aren't a lot of people there usually. It just fits my style of estate selling better. I like to hit the sales at the end where it's everything you can stuff in a bag for $1. I'm sure I miss out on things by not going earlier in the weekend. I'm sure I miss out on things I would love to have, but I find I'm more likely to find things that I'm actually going to bring home if I wait until a little later. And like I said, lots of people get there when the sales first open, so I'm able to avoid some of that by getting there a little later. I hope this was helpful to you. Like I said, I have been estate selling since I was a little kid. My mom went to estate sales, my grandma went to estate sales. They're nothing new for us. I know some people are just discovering that they're a thing. Let me know, what do you go to estate sales? Do you have better strategies than I have? Because I would love to know what those are. And what's your best estate sale find ever? Are you going to any sales lately? Finding anything fun? Lately, the estate sales have been a lot more promising than the thrift shops, so I think I may focus a little more on them from now. Thank you for watching. I'm Michelle with Michelle's Romantic Tangle, and I will be back with you again very soon.